Dear Taqueando podcast listeners, I have great news to share with you. My Taqueando Fest is coming back. No, not the full festival, but we're going to do a little pop up. We did one in the pandemic, but just have not been active since then. It's largely been because of all the things that have gone on since the pandemic. It's been something every year: fires, ice raids, just one thing after another. So this year, instead of doing a big festival, I'm going to do a little pop up, and it's called Taqueando After Dark, and it's going to be held at Level 8 on Thursday, August 27th, and Friday, August 28th from 6 p.m. till late. And you can find tickets already online at Eventbrite. And there are going to be more details forthcoming, but I have chefs coming from Baja California. I have got a couple coming up. We're going to have some great local taquerias. So stay tuned for more details. We haven't even really officially announced this yet, but the tickets are online, and we're kind of putting together all the materials to share with you. So for right now, let this be your first announcement that my taqueando is coming up with a small event. There's going to be about 7-8 taquerias there, and it's going to be one ticket to taste all the tacos. All right, and so reasonably priced, and again, you can enjoy the view and the setting there on level 8 at the Moxie Hotel in downtown LA. Hey everyone, welcome to Taqueando. I'm your host, Bill Esparza, and this week we're heading back to Mexico City for a special episode to talk about the history of modern Mexican cuisine with a good friend of mine. Now, if you've been following Chef Daniel Ovadia, he is one of the most influential figures in contemporary Mexican gastronomy. You might have heard of the restaurant Paxia that closed a while back, but it's really a pioneering restaurant. Chef Ovadia has decades of work redefining how Mexico cooks and eats, and has built over 25 culinary projects. He's really made this transition from being a fine dining chef, directing really a seminal restaurant in Mexico City, Paxia, a groundbreaking restaurant, and transitioning into being a restaurateur. And he started that project when he was only 21. I don't know what the hell he was thinking, but he did it. And his work has earned major recognition. Now, he's been GQ's Mexico's Chef of the Year. He was the Canirac, which is the Restaurant Association in Mexico City. For Canirac, he earned the Young Restaurant Entrepreneur Award. For Food and Travels magazine, he was the Gastronomic Entrepreneur of the Year. So he's really won accolades as a chef, as a cookbook author, and also as a restaurateur that's doing something very different and catering to locals rather than international tourists in Mexico City. Of course, in his other restaurants in Puerto Morelos. In his other restaurants in Puerto Morelos, he is catering to tourists. Today, Chef Ovadia has his own restaurant group, and he's got this restaurant chain in Mexico City called Beltre. And his restaurant Punta Corcho is Michelin recognized. He has a wonderful bunch of projects there in Puerto Morelos, which we're going to talk about with him. But first, at Taqueando, eating antojitos is a way of life, from the world's most celebrated dining rooms to the gritty stands and storied market stalls that preserve culture. Life is short, so we must eat well. And here are this week's Antojitos Rundown. Well, I recently attended Eater's first Bang Bang. So I don't know if you guys know, Eater has been going through a lot of transitions, and there's a lot of haters out there, but Eater is doing great work. They're doing the same jobs they've always done in print, with fewer editors, but quality work. And, I'm still there, guys. I still write. So Eater's getting into events, and, Eater's doing great work in print. There's an Eater app There are eater events, and there are eater books. I'm in one of them, the one on Mexico City, and so I went to the first Bang Bang, and you guys know what a Bang Bang is. We do it all the time. We do it all the time here on the podcast. We're going to multiple uh, taquerias, street food stands. We know our sister podcast. Luca's out there eating a bunch of pizza, so we're doing Bang Bangs all day long. Rob and I do Bang Bangs, and I mean, it's kind of like what you do, right? But this was a special event. This event had Chef Deo of Holy Basil together with Chef Ray of Broken Spanish Comedor, and they held it at Broken Spanish Comedor. And it was back to back bangs. So the first half of the first four dishes were Holy Basil. The next four dishes were um, Broken Spanish Comedor, and they had some pairings and cocktails and the sake pairings for Holy Basil, tequila and mezcal and sotol pairing for Broken Spanish Comedor. And that was a really fun time. Really amazing dishes. I'm not going to go through the whole menu with you, but I really loved this. So some of it was collab. Now, I don't know. You guys can tell me. Is it better that the chefs just do their own restaurant or that they collab a little? So the only thing I would say is that I'm wondering, is it a collab or is it a bang bang? So I liked the way, I liked all the dishes, but the first dish was a cuttlefish aguachile. So I really loved cuttlefish in an aguachile, and it had Thai flavors. So this was by Chef Deo, and that everyone loved this dish. His chicharron that he did, his pork belly with a spicy salsa, a Thai salsa, was amazing. Um, Chef Ray had this tamal. So if you ever go to Broken Spanish Comedor, always get the tamal. And this is like a patty pan squash and chili poblano tamal and some spicings and a cream on top, a cream sauce. So, you know, I know there's people out there that, gosh, you know who you are. You're obnoxious. That every dish has to have contrast. Has to have crunch and cold and hot and smooth and all these. No, that's boring to experience in every dish, and that's not the way we eat tamales. So to have a smooth, soft tamal and a creamy sauce and no contrast, sign me up. That's the way we eat it. That's the way we want it. And so a tamal does not don't pour crackling on there or I don't know bacon bits. If you want crunch, that's a stupid idea. Don't do that. But keep it smooth, keep it mushy. That's the way we want it. Um, and then uh, Ray did a cordero rostizado, so this lamb with tamarind flavors and some Thai flavors. So he mixed in some Thai flavors in his dishes. A great ceviche by Chef Ray. So a great time. Eater's doing this everywhere. They're doing this in all their major markets. So go to Eater events and look for the next Eater Bang Bang. On this podcast, we love Alto. So we just had a recent episode with Chef Juana and Chef Esteban, and so since in the last month, I've been back twice for their new bar menu and the omakase, the Pampas omakase menu, which are really outstanding experience. So for those of you that are complaining about prices right now, yes, we understand. We don't like that because it's not the restaurant's fault. Prices are just high because of this stupid president you voted for. So, if you're going to get mad at that guy. I didn't vote for him. But at Alto, they have a bar menu that's approachable. Okay, so just go in, you sit in that little lovely bar area, and it's also the patio, and at the bar itself, and you can have incredible. They have an empanada, the chimi and cheese empanada that's beautiful. A lot of things you can eat with your hand. Oh my God, the lengua and trout toast was my favorite. Just beautiful, luxurious lengua, soft and flavorful. It's a great cut of beef, you guys. So don't stop giving me that look. Um, they had a beautiful Caesar, but get the Caesar with the chicken wings. So They go together. They're a perfect combo. If you want to get some of that alto steak experience, you get their banderita and frites. So it's a short rib, banderita style, with beef tallow, mashed potatoes, chimichurri on the table. So you can have that, or the choripan made by a local baker that's doing the bread the right way. So if you just you don't want to go in on the dinner menu, you just want some great bites and some of their incredible wines from Argentina, from Uruguay, and other parts of Latin America, and international wines. Um, Alto is the place. Now, the other experience that I went to is their Pampas Omakase. So at the center of the Pampas Omakase is the asado a la estaca. So it's on the stake. So when you get there, it's been cooking for hours and hours and hours. I forget how long they do it, but it's that, the Argentine style cooking you love, slowly cooked on a steak. And I absolutely love this menu. They started with this a chorizo with baby corn and a criocha emulsion. Wonderful. Also, an empanada with tongue. So that beef, that wonderful beef tongue from that they you can also get in a different preparation on the bar menu is in this beautiful lengua and piquillo pepper empanada. So there's always an empanada at the asado. Maybe the best dish that I've had in a while, and I sat with some people that I was sitting with strangers at the Pampas Omakase, and I'm a social guy, and so we were talking, and a lot of people at the table had not had sweetbreads before, so I tried not to be overbearing, you guys, but I wanted to just give some context, like, hey, this is the if you go to the asado, the mocheja, the sweetbreads is like everything. That's everybody has to have that. Like if your asado doesn't have mochejas, we're going home. That's the deal. But Chef Esteban did this. Um, he calls it mocheja al verdeo, and it was in a cream sauce. So I was just dumping this cream sauce all over the um, sweetbreads, and oh my god, this was such a luxurious dish. And so I say this is the one for you to get over this stigma you have. Okay, you guys, come on. You know, the planet. It's like we have the only planet with Argentines and Uruguayos. So like, let's enjoy this stuff. And then it was followed by some tomato and provoleta. Again, another dish. But the thing we were all there for was the asado a la estaca. So flavorful. Cooked long, beautiful, beautiful char, incredible flavor of the beef, the short rib beef cut, and with sweet potato, and then he gave us the bones after, and with the bones you just basically gnawed on it. I had to encourage people to just pick it up with your hand. You have to cut that off, but you want that sensation of your teeth scraping the bone and getting every last you know little piece of charred meat. An amazing experience. And then pionono, this wonderful, beautiful traditional cake from the Rio de la Plata region. Oh my gosh! So you can look at the Instagram for uh, Alto, and or go to their website and sign up for the next Pampas Omakase. Welcome to the show, Chef Daniel, amigo.
Hi, thank you very much for inviting me. I'm very happy to be today with you.
Yeah, we've known each other a long time. Uh, I I want to say I went to your restaurant in 2012, 2013,
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, like
and
15 years ago.
yeah, a lot of years ago. And right now, Mexico City is such a destination, right? It's become one of the most popular cities in the world for fine dining and street food dining, and just for all the culture and the architecture. It wasn't that way when you opened Paxia in 2005. It was already a great city, but not in the way we think of the tourism today in 2026. So, you know, the restaurants everybody talks about today, Quintonil, um, Puyol still is obviously an old restaurant, but it's still being talked about a lot. Um, you know, all the incredible projects that are open now, all the newer restaurants that are opening that are not focused so much on Mexican cuisine. But when you open Paxia in 2005, there was hardly anything.
Yeah, when I think Paxia opened way ahead of his time. I started thinking about Paxia when I was 19 years old, and I opened it when I just turned 21, and it was something very new for it for the that time. It was something very different, something very like difficult to think in that time. I think Paxia was maybe the first or second restaurant, Mexican, contemporary Mexican restaurant, because Pujol opened, I think, 3 years before Paxia. But when Pujol opened, it was like a European restaurant, American, because Enrique studied at the CIA in New York, so he wanted to introduce that kind of food in his restaurant. And in 2005 he started like the transition to Mexican food, and that's when Paxia opened. So we started like together the road to the new Mexican gastronomy, and the everything it's story then.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's with all the talk about these restaurants, and now there's the Michelin Guide, and 50 Best has more Mexican restaurants than it's ever had. People don't, think about Paxia because it closed down for a while, and then you reopened it, and
Yeah.
now it's closed permanently. And of course, you have a different, mission these days. You are a restaurateur, but everyone talks about, uh, you know, so many restaurants right now. There's maybe a dozen that people talk about all the time about visiting, but what they don't understand is that, um, you know, your restaurant at the time now in 2005 was among a few. You had Benito Molina in
Yeah.
Ensenada. You had, uh, you know,
Guillermo with Pangea.
yes, you had Guillermo, and really Guillermo Pangea is probably the first restaurant. 19 he opened in 98, and so he was the first contemporary, but he wasn't doing so much Mexican ingredients. It was more European, as you said.
Yeah, most of the
Uh,
restaurants were Mexican, but maybe with European techniques or Mexican ingredients with a mixture between Spanish cuisine, Italian cuisine, French cuisine. And when we started Paxia, it was the idea was to make all Mexican food. My grandmother was one of the best friends of Carmen Titita. So when I started thinking about having a restaurant when I was 19, I wanted to have a French or Italian restaurant because that was what every young chef wanted at that time. In Mexico, if you had a Mexican restaurant, it was like a low quality restaurant. But if you had a French or Italian or Spanish restaurant, you were like at the top of the top end restaurant. So I started with the idea to have an Italian restaurant. So one day I talked with Carmen Ramirez, La Titita, and I asked her about her like ideas, and I wanted to know what was she thinking about me having a restaurant because she knew me since I was like 2 or 3 years old. So when I talked to her and asked and tell her the idea to having an Italian restaurant, he told me that I was crazy, and she was the one that told me you could be the youngest Mexican chef to open a Mexican restaurant. You are 20 years. You can start researching, traveling inside Mexico, and open a Mexican restaurant. So, like, I got the idea and I started with that crazy idea to have a Mexican restaurant. I didn't know anything about Mexican cuisine. I only knew what my parents taught me, what my life taught me, but I was 20 years old. My family is Jewish from Ukraine, Greece, and Russia. So all my when I was young, all the food in my family was like European food. So I didn't have like mole in my blood. So it was much difficult for me to start researching about Mexican cuisine because I didn't have all those flavors in my blood. My grandmother was like a painter, so when she arrived to Mexico, she loved Mexico, so she started painting like Mexican paisajes. How do you say? Like uh, the Mexican paintings. So she was the one that taught me about Mexico, about the mercados, the Xochimilco, the volcanoes, because she painted those things. So she was the one that introduced me to Mexico, but not to Mexican flavors. So I had at my 20s to start researching and trying everything so I could open Paxia.
Yeah, a lot of people don't understand just because you grow up in Mexico that at when you think about Mexico, Ciudad de Mexico in the 80s and 90s, it was more cosmopolitan dining because your fancy restaurants were Spanish, French, Italian. There were no Thai and Japanese like there are today. Um, and like if you wanted carne asada, you went to an Argentine steakhouse. If you wanted something fancy, you went to a tapas place and drank Spanish wine. And of course, you could be eating different foods every evening, except for Mexican food. If you live in Polanco, places like that. Um, so it's funny that you became such a champion of the garnacha of street food because now when I went to Paxia in now I did miss going to your restaurant in 2011. I was there with Patricia Quintana. You and I know about this trip. She organized Aromas y Sabores with 90 journalists and photographers, and that's still one of the most amazing food trips I've ever been on. And one night we were in Ciudad de Mexico, and she organized, you know, dinners for everybody. And I think at the time that, like, even in 2011, there was no Sud 777, there was no Quinto Nil, there was no Maximo, there was, M. All these restaurants now that everybody goes to, they weren't there. Um, and so I think I saw on the list, I remember looking, you were on there with Paxia, which is all the way down in Santa Fe, and Puyol, which was already well established. Well, and Puyol, which was already well established in 2011 as a modern Mexican restaurant. It had changed several times. I think they were doing their Mar y Tierra menu around that time, something like that. And Isote, which was not modern Mexican, it was more like haute cuisine, or what people used to call alta cocina. Dulce Patria was on our list. Again, more close to Isote than what you were doing and what Enrique was doing. Um, and I think, what was the other? Oh, Bico. Bico was one of the choices back then, but it wasn't really Mexican. It was more modern Spanish. So, like, for a while, it was you and Puyol really leaning into these modern Mexican garnachas and presentations.
Yeah, because uh, I think I was very naive when I was 20, when I was opening Paxia. So I didn't know about life responsibilities, so I could do whatever I want in my restaurant. I didn't
Yeah.
have kids. I didn't have to pay college, schools. I didn't have my wife. Nothing. So I was very naive. So if I went to a Mexican street food stall and I tried a very good taco, I tried to recreate that taco and take it to Paxia. So it was uh, between naive and I was like very young to understand life. but I think that was our success. And also, I was very poor at that time. So if I wanted to have a wine list, I couldn't afford to have a very expensive wine list. So I talked with Hugo da Costa, and he had La Escuelita in
Right.
Baja. So I started buying those wines of La Escuelita, and he sent it to me to Paxia. So our wine list was mainly Mexican because I bought all the La Escuelita wines. So that was like something new in Mexico. I didn't have money to buy expensive cognacs, expensive brandy or rums, so I started looking for mezcal. So I found this guy Cornelio, and he went to La Sierra in Puebla, in Oaxaca, in Guerrero, and he brought us all this mezcal without label. So we had in 2005 we already had a list of 35 mezcales. That was something very different to that time. The same happened with tequilas. We started looking for different tequilas, but not those expensive tequilas like brand tequilas. No, we went to Jalisco to find those artisanal tequilas, and we brought them to Mexico and put our own labels. So people started finding at Paxia think some beverages that they couldn't find anywhere else. So that was also the differential when we opened. We didn't have money to buy fancy plates and fancy forks, and so we started using clay, peltre, and different Mexican materials that were not typical in those restaurants with tablecloth. Not so you could eat in clay or in barro or peltre with your tablecloth on it. So it was something like very different.
Yeah, and of course, all that stuff is very common today, right? Now, we've had Chef Oso Campos on the show from Tijuana, a taquero, a chef who we credit as being having the first taco concept of a modern taqueria, where he was doing exclusively tacos. But you corrected me on stage one time that before West Avila, before Oso Campos, you were the first chef in Mexico to serve a modern taco on your tasting menu.
Yeah, actually, we had the taco tasting menu in 2006. So I so I think that was very new at that time. And
Yeah,
then in 2011, I think we had a 17 course menu, all tacos, different tacos. Like it was like a road trip to different Mexican tacos and preparation, different kinds of corn, different kinds of cooking techniques or ingredients. That was, I think, in 2011.
yeah, and so right, so I didn't, like I said, I did not go to your restaurant in 2011. When I went around 2013, 2012, you did have a taco that I remember. It was a taco de tripa,
Yeah.
and you made all the tripas really super crisp, and they were like really perfect circles that you put on this tortilla, and super crunchy, super crujiente, you know. And I remember that very well. But yeah, when you told me that, like, yeah, wait a minute, I had it at your place, and you were even doing it earlier when at a time when Puyol and of course the restaurants that others didn't even exist at the time. But Puyol would never think of doing tacos at that time, and you were doing it.
Yeah.
How did the audience respond? Because, like I said, there was sort of this idea that uh, Memo had, that and Enrique had, that if you put tacos, tamales, and things like this on the menu at that time, that the diners would compare it to the street versions, and they would be, they said, I'm not paying this much for a taco or a tamal or a torta or something like that.
Yeah, actually, when we started Paxi in 2005, the first like uh, traditional dish that we had in the menu, it was a pozole, but we made the pozole with seafood. But we presented in a peltre, like a peltre cazuela, So I remember, and with a wooden spoon and a peltre spoon. So I remember like the second or third day that we opened play peltre. Actually, Paxia. The first one was in San Angel, so it's like a very fancy colonia, no, of like very elegant people, and it's like
Oh yeah,
the
I remember.
yeah. So one day we served the pozole, and I remember perfect. I was at the kitchen. We had an open kitchen where we were making all the tortillas, and I remember that like old lady, very well dressed with the white hair, big earrings, and when she was presented the pozole in the peltre cazuela, she said, "No, no, 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 no. This is food for poor people or jails," and she rejected the seafood pozole. So
Right.
that's something that I remember. So imagine what happened when people started looking tacos in the menu. It was something
So
very, very,
you did get some pushback from some customers.
yeah, a lot of pushback. But when people started listening about Paxia and those irreverent things that we started doing 22 years ago, people were lining to eat at our restaurant. So at the first time, like it was very difficult, but people started to understand that we were making something different, and they understand what we were doing when they saw the kitchen and they saw young people doing it. So I think it make like a match between who was cooking and what they were cooking.
Yeah. Yes. And I think we have a lot of we have a lot of young Latino chefs that listen to this podcast, and of course they love learning about other chefs and what's happening in Mexico and Latino America, and but you know there's this history and there was this special time when modern Mexican cuisine is so young. It's only since 1998, and really, as you were mentioning, it doesn't really start to become Mexican until 2003. You could argue that uh, Manzanilla was doing modern ensenada style seafood when it opened in 2000. You could say that that's when it began.
Yeah.
And then it took Enrique a few years to move into um, Mexican ingredients and Mexican techniques. And of course, at the time when you were developing your style at Paxia, a young chef Jorge Vallejo, you know Edgar Nunez, those chefs were working in these other restaurants or they were cooking in Europe, and they would come later to obviously give us what we have now. I think Maximo Bistro was such a big change. That restaurant sort of I think started a new wave of restaurants. But I want to say for the listeners, you have to go back and look at you know Mexico City in 2005, and or 2011 when I went, and you had Pico, Puyol, Isote, Paxia, Dulce Patria, Azul y Oro, and again, not all the same kinds of very different restaurants. Now more restaurants follow the same kind of style, right? They're all tasting
That
menus.
that was that's something that I wanted to tell you. If
Yeah,
you
tell
went
me.
to 2005 or 2011, and you could eat in all these restaurants that you mentioned, you could eat amazing in those restaurants, and you could find different cuisine in each one of them. And
Yeah.
now everything like it's very like very the same.
Yes, I think people talk about that across the board, like around the world. There are more fine dining restaurants, but there's more repetition, and so you could have a very different experience back then with all these restaurants. Contramar also came along, and Mero Toro had just opened in 2010, and so by 2011 we had very different restaurants doing different things. Your restaurant was nothing like Puyol, even though you were both doing tasting menus. And Puyol was nothing like it is today. It was a very different restaurant. That restaurant went through several iterations and developments, but it was kind of a special time that I think, because of the success of Mexico City, that we'll probably never see something like that again.
No, I think what happened is now the creativity it's a little bit finished because now you have all the information in the palm of your hand.
Yeah,
We opened Paxia or Enrique opened Pujol. If you wanted to learn what we were doing, or you had to travel to Mexico, or you have to wait like maybe 2 or 3 months for a magazine to come to our restaurant, take a picture of our new menu, and then 2 or 3 more months till it was printed and then send it to Europe or so maybe it could take like 6 months to people like learn what we were doing, and now you can learn it the same day. So I think that it's a big problem with creativity these days.
yeah. Well, and I was thinking of, I was debating on whether to ask you this, but what do you think what's happening right now what you see happening, given that we just talked about this and I agree it was more interesting to see all this development. We see more refinement in restaurants across the board, but there's repetition. Um, what do you think about what's happening in Condesa y Roma Norte with all the gentrification and a lot of the restaurants that are not reflecting Mexican flavors?
I think you have a lot of young new Mexican cooks, very talented, but I think they are working what they see in social media. They are working what they see in the restaurant next door instead of trying to find their own cuisine, their own style. 2 weeks ago, I was with a chef, actually with Bruno Teiza. We were at the Michelin ceremony in Guadalajara, and I remember very well what he told me that every time he opens some social media and he sees a dish, he immediately knows if it's a dish of Daniel Ovadia or Enrique Olvera or Guillermo Gonzalez, because that generation had like so strong the identity of every one of us that you could really see the picture and immediately know who chef cooked that dish. And today, I think that's very difficult to happen. If you see one dish, you need to go to the credits and see which restaurant it is. In 20 years ago, you could
Yeah.
immediately know if it was Paxia, Pujol, Bico, Manzanilla, immediately, no?
Yeah, it's more as many things, many dining scenes right now. It's more successful than ever. There's more tourism. There's more money being spent in Mexico City, but
Yeah.
uh, it's. I feel like we've lost the momentum where I think people just used to go to Polanco and Condesa, and then Roma Norte came into focus with Maximo Bistro, and then other neighborhoods, and now we're back to just Condesa and Roma. It's like we're people are not exploring other parts of the city. They're of course they're moving there and staying there too, and disrupting things, disrupting the local community in those neighborhoods. But uh, but yeah, there's something lost there. Now, Mexico City obviously is a great dining destination, regardless of what's happening. But you've chosen to make restaurants for locals, where a lot of chefs are still doing they're in their kitchen, they're doing tasting menus, they're still in that process of their life. Your life changed. You got married, you have children, you have different a different lifestyle right now. So, what made you choose to focus on serving the locals rather than jumping into this, making all these trendy restaurants for tourists?
Uh, I think the first 10 years of Paxia were like exhausting for me. It was uh, 17, 20 hours a day. Actually, I was studying at the same time at the university. I was studying business administration. So I had to be all day uh, away from home. So I work it like for 17 hours, go to 1 hour of class, then come back to the restaurant. Many days we slept at the restaurant because I had the 7 o'clock classes the next morning, and I had to be opening the restaurant at 10 o'clock. So it was 10 very exhausting years for me, very difficult years because we were doing something very different. So
Yeah.
I had a lot of financial problems because we were doing like in one part of the Paxia story, we had only 40 seats, and we were 85 people working at the restaurant. So imagine the cost of that. I was really obsessed with perfection, with lists, awards, being invited to international congress. So it was very, very tired for me, very exhausting. So in 2015, I decided to close. And then 4 years later, I decided to reopen it at a very nice place in Mexico City's downtown. So I was in the fine dining industry in Mexico City for 20 years, but I did it. I really wasn't enjoying it. I was only doing it because of what other people or other chefs or the press think about me and my food. So I was really over it. I didn't want it anymore. So in 2015, I decided to open Peltre. It was a much, much relaxed place where we were still doing research and different Mexican dishes, but thinking about like a massive, a lot of people. So I started to enjoying it. So we had the Mexican bakery. We have a lot of Mexican traditional dishes, and today we have 15 peltres. We are opening three new ones in the next 4 months. And that's the part of being a chef and a businessman that I really enjoyed. I was very, very tired with the Mexican fine dining scene. And, and maybe the last 7 years, I really didn't wasn't I was not enjoying it really. Not as I enjoy the fine dining scene that I'm doing at Puerto Morelos, for example.
Right.
Punta Punta Corcho is a restaurant for maybe 95% of our customers are tourists, but I really enjoy the atmosphere. I really enjoy what I am cooking. I really enjoy that my patrons really, really enjoy what I give to them. I have the sea 10 meters away, so I can have the fishermen bringing me fresh food and seafood every day. So I really enjoyed that part of the fine dining industry in Puerto Morelos, and I really fell, me desenamoré. I didn't wanted to do it in Mexico City anymore.
Right. Right. And again you've assumed this role as a you're more happy as a restaurateur these days than being a chef on the line, uh, where obviously Michelin is coming into Mexico even more, and more chefs are they just added Guadalajara, and they're very excited. But there's a lot of people that are excited to get 2 stars and maybe be the be a 3-star restaurant. But that's not your pursuit anymore. That's not something you're interested in, um, as far as being a an everyday chef in a fine dining restaurant.
I mean, I love being in the Michelin guide with Punta Corcho.
Yeah.
Uh, actually, the first year Michelin came to Mexico, Paxia was still open, and I think that that was like a parteaguas. How do you say in English? Like some, I I really thought that Paxia did everything in his 20 years of life to being in that guide, and when
Right.
the
That was right.
yeah,
The parting of the waters. That was
yeah,
the
because
sort of the end of that cycle for you.
yeah, and the first year that Paxia didn't make it to the guide, I said, okay, that's it. I cannot do it anymore. I'm tired of this. It was like a life for me. But Punta Corcho made it with a big gourmand, and I was like the happiest man alive because it was something very, very nice for us. And I've been working for a lot of things, including that, for 23 years. So that was like the cherry on top of the Punta Corcho, because Punta Corcho,
Yes,
I mean, Paxia, it's me. Paxia, I really love Paxia, but Punta
right.
Corcho, really, it's my favorite restaurant. It's everything I've dreamed of. It's in Punta Corcho.
Yeah. And again, young chefs need to. You have a Paxia book, don't you?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. 2012, I think.
Yeah. So you have a lot of cookbooks, um, but for young chefs, pick up the Paxia book, and you need to know about this restaurant. It was so important. It's like these others. It didn't. It's not gonna be celebrating 25 and 30 years. That's a whole other ball game. How do you keep a restaurant relevant for that long? Which is very complicated. But the bib gourmand life is a nice life too. So let's talk about Puerto Morelos. Now, for those of you listening, it's just south of Cancun on your way to Playa del Carmen. It's about 30 minutes outside of Cancun.
Yeah, 30, 35, and like 15, 20 minutes from the Cancun airport.
Right. So I recently had a visit there, and I got to go to Punta Corcho. I stayed at the Hotel Hacienda Morelos, and that's a nice little thing you've carved out there. And there's a lot of people. So everybody knows what to expect in Cancun and Playa del Carmen, Tulum. But tell me why people should consider staying in Puerto Morelos and exploring your restaurants.
Okay, Puerto Morelos is the smallest municipio of Quintana Roo. It's the smallest one. So it's a very, very small municipio. How do you say municipio in English?
Municipality.
Municipality. So it's very, very small. It used to be, and still is, a fisherman village. So we have a very nice cooperativa, a fisherman cooperativa. We have very, very nice little hotels. So I think Puerto Morelos, it's like what Playa del Carmen, Cancun, Tulum used to be like 60 years ago. But all the businessmen, all the restaurateurs, hotel owners are fighting to keep it that way. So if you go to Puerto Morelos, you will find very nice hotels, amazing restaurants. The little town, it's beautiful, but you will feel that you are like 50 years ago in a Caribbean village, a small Caribbean Mexican village. So there's love in the air. With my wife, we said that it's our happy place. You arrive to Puerto Morelos, and the air is different. The people are amazing. The sea is amazing. The seafood is amazing. You can see all the fishermen arriving in the afternoon with all the fishes. Uh, it's an amazing place, and Puerto Morelos has the biggest arrecife in the world, the second reef in the world. So it's amazing to do a snorkel, scuba diving. It's a very nice place. Actually, the Ruta de los Cenotes, it's in Puerto
Yeah.
Morelos. Yeah, so it's an amazing place. We opened Punta Corcho 11 years ago, and we opened Muelle Once 6 years ago. Fisherman, it's like our cocktail bar. We opened it 3 years ago, and we just opened Buba, that it's a Mediterranean restaurant with Caribbean inspired dishes.
Yeah, and that uh, Puerto Morelos is very family oriented. I love the square at night. It's very very, compared to Cancun and all these very popular places. It's very laid back, and like you said, it feels like a small fishing village, and it's right next to Cancun, so you can still go into town and get wild if you want. But it's really nice to walk around at night. You have that incredible supermarket right across the street that has restaurants inside of it and everything you ever need for traveling. And of course, there's a lot of Paxia on your Punta Corcho menu.
Yeah, the I've been always like trying to do different things. So when I opened Paxia, it was something very different. So when I opened Punta Corcho, I really wanted to make something different for that time. We opened in 2015, so we started doing a cuisine without gas. Now everybody's using charcoal, everybody's using wood fire, but that was 11 years ago. So we started doing, we don't have gas in the restaurant. We only have a very small stove in case of emergencies, but everything is wood fire, everything is charcoal. That's the whole energy of the place, is that we don't use gas. When people see the dishes, they said, "Oh, you have a rational oven in there, or you have a stove, or you have," and really, it's an amazing food because you can find relaxed food. You can find like simple dishes, but
Yeah,
when we tell you that everything is cooked in the good fire or charcoal oven on stove, people like everybody's amazed that the cuisine that we make in those conditions.
yeah. I recognize the I remember having gordita de pulpo,
Yeah.
or I think that it was a gordita with octopus in it, and like, oh my gosh, this, and they were petite gorditas, and it reminded me of the Paxia style of
Yeah,
making
yeah.
fancy, beautiful garnachas that are flavorful, and you like food that's you like to play with traditional Mexican antojitos, and you like to make them flavorful with some presentation, but not um, more casual. And the seafood there is amazing. What are some of the local products?
Uh, as I told you, we have the cooperativa, the fisherman cooperativa. So every day we have different product. We don't buy nothing with redes. How you say, with nest. Everything
Yeah,
is or hand picked or arpon,
line caught.
line cut, or with arpon, with spur fishing, I think.
Yeah,
So every day we have different meros, esmedregal, meros, huachinangos. We used to have lionfish. Actually, Punta Corcho was one of the first restaurants in the world that started like a campaign to to eradicate the lionfish. We started like 10 years ago to have this campaign with the Mexican government to try to eradicate the lionfish. So every day we have different things, and it's amazing to go with the fishermen and see
yeah.
what.
And lionfish is delicious, and of course it does help the environment. It's famously invasive species
Yeah,
that everybody's trying to get rid of everywhere. It's bad for the reef.
it's very bad for the reef, but it was very nice to see that in Puerto Morelos, 10 years ago, a lot of restaurants, including Punta Corcho, we started like a campaign to get rid of it and to eat it a lot. And actually, now if you go to the reef, you can see very very little amount of lionfish. I think now you have much more in Miami, or I saw Jose Andres is doing like a very similar campaign in the Miami coast, because
Yeah,
it's a very big problem. But in Puerto Morelos, it's almost gone because of all the restaurants that we
because
campaign.
of Punta Cor- because of
Yeah,
Punta Corcho.
no, Punta Corcho. We started like a very big
Yeah,
campaign with the government and with the
yeah,
fishermen. So we gave them the spear fishing to
yeah.
go and cut them. We tried to sell to all the restaurants and to go to Cancun, to Playa del Carmen, to get rid of it. Yeah.
No, that's great. So, but so again, I recommend, it was a wonderful experience staying at the Hotel. Sorry, it was a wonderful experience staying at Hotel Hacienda Morelos and dining at Punta Corcho. I did not get to do Muelle Once, which is more like breakfast, lunch, right?
Yeah, Mayonnaise, we have like a beach club and a breakfast right at the beach. It's a very nice restaurant.
Again, Mexican flavors
Yeah.
for a Chilango who rediscovered his Mexican uh, flavors in his 20s. And then there's fishermen's too. You have a bar.
Yeah, it's a cocktail bar that we try to use like a lot of like from the sea. So seaweed, seawater, fermentations inside the seawater. So it's a very nice cocktail bar.
Yeah. And so for people who are going to maybe consider going to Puerto Morelos, and staying there and trying your restaurants, what are some places that you and your family what are some of the other places in town that you and your family like to dine?
You have a very nice Argentinian Uruguayan restaurant right behind the Muelle Once. It's called El Chimichurri. A very nice hamburgers called Underground Burgers. Amazing burgers. You have El Mercadito that it's been open for almost 20 years, and it was one of the first restaurants in the Riviera Maya to do like Mazatlan style seafood. So it's a very very nice restaurant to go. Uh, and to try, you have El Pesquero. It's also an amazing restaurant. It's a small village with very good gastronomy, a small village with very nice people, very nice fishermen, very nice sea. So I recommend everybody to go.
Okay. Yeah, I recommend too. Even if you're not going to stay there the full time, if you are staying in Cancun and you want a couple of days break from that scene, which it's a lot, there's a lot of traffic now. Um, and of course, every place is very buzzy and has sometimes it's a loud tourist scene, but um, Puerto Morelos is a place to just chill with your family, a great romantic getaway. Um, Now, going back to Mexico City, we talked. I feel the same way as you. I try to, I'm trying some of these newer restaurants, and I went to Gaba recently, and I did like it a lot. I had a good time there, and but I'm kind of skeptical of many of the restaurants that are not doing Mexican flavors, and and so I tend to stick towards, you know, I tend to stay with restaurants that I know when I want to do fine dining that are still doing Mexican flavors. So for you, what are the if people want to go to Mexico City and they still want to experience these Mexican flavors, what are your favorite spots for fine dining and for street food?
Fine dining, I really love Maximo. Pujol, it's amazing. Pujol Enrique recently opened the Pujolito, that it's like a Mexican Japanese omakase, and the place is amazing. Uh, I just went to Sarde and I really like it. Maizajo, it's a very nice place. Uh, Oof, or go to the markets. I don't
What are
know.
your
You
favorite
have
markets?
my favorite market in Mexico. Ah, I used to go very, very often to La Merced, to the part of the food area. Uh,
Yeah,
and it's amazing. I went with you to Tepito, and I've
yeah.
had one of the most amazing times of my life. And it's an amazing
We
place
got
to
to we
eat.
got to do that again. We have to do
Yeah,
that again sometime.
yeah. But the food area in La Merced, it's amazing. I remember we used to go to a place that sell queso de puerco. So we went to the tortilleria, had like medio kilo of tortillas, and then we went to the queso de puerco place, and then we went to the nopales place. So in three different areas, you could make your own taco, and it was amazing.
Right, you bought all your ingredients and made your own
Yeah,
taco.
in different, and also in La Merced, there's one of the best carnitas I ever had in my life, and they have the carnitas, but it's only the chamorro, so it's carnitas de chamorro, and it's an amazing place. So I like to eat everything everywhere, so I don't have like a special or, or my favorite place. I love to discover new things every
Yeah.
day.
So the Merced, and it's got a bunch of there is a food section. It's a huge market, but
Yeah.
there's a main section where you get lots of taquerias, antojitos, and elotes and things like that. And then there's street vendors on the outside. But you were talking about buying the nopales, buying tortillas separately. What do you call? I've never bothered to ask this of anybody, but what do you call these women who sit out and they sell foods to go, like things that you can use to make tacos, to make antojitos? They'll have their nopales and they'll have some guisos, but everybody gets it to go and escabeches. things like that. Do you know what you call those little stands?
Oh, so sometimes they call them queliteras. I know because they used to sell also the quelites.
The quelites
So,
also. Yes, you're right. They would
yeah,
sell quelites, and sometimes they can also make you tacos sometimes.
yeah. But they send you to the tortilleria. They don't have the tortillas. Those ladies
Right.
like tell you, I can make you the taco, but bring me the
Bring
tortillas.
me
No,
some tortillas.
yeah,
Yeah, I had a taco de quelite con queso one time. Um, that was amazing because the quelites were so nice. But yeah, so you call them queliteras.
sometimes yeah, I think yeah. I, that was a very good question.
But those are such fascinating. I always every time I see those, I stop and just stare because it just they have so many little dishes that they
Yeah,
prepare, and you always see women coming by to buy things to take home because they're going to make their antojitos at home, and they don't want to cook all those little toppings and ingredients and fillings. It's amazing, right?
it's like a Mexican meze, no? It's like the same idea of the Middle East with the different things that you can take home, like prepared.
Right. Instead of spices, it's guisos.
Yeah,
Okay. And so Merced, is there a market that you like today that you go to more these days, or is it still the Merced?
I love to go to Milpalta. It's an amazing place, and they put a market in the every day or sometimes in the weekends. So the Mercado de Milpalta, it's amazing. And actually, we used to go very often when we had Paxia. Uh, like we had a very nice research in there. So actually, we made Mexico. That was something very nice in Paxia. We used to make the tasting menus of Mexican gastronomies that even Mexicans didn't know. So 20 years ago, we did the Sinaloa menu. We also did the Chiapas menu. We did the Tlaxcala menu. And the last menu, it was the Mexico City menu. So we did that menu in
Yeah.
2012, I think it was. Yeah, and it was amazing because even Mexicans went to a restaurant and they didn't know like 95% of the ingredients that we were using at that, and it was a Mexico City restaurant. Actually, the menu, it was called the other Mexico City because people didn't know. So we made a very nice research about the docks in Mexico, the olive oil, the different quelites, the different moles, and we did the menu with the different painters, so they paint Paxia. They made us different paintings and the tableware. So it was an amazing menu, and it was all inspired in Mexico City and the Mexico City markets. So we went to a lot of markets, but Milpalta was amazing at that time.
Yeah. And what do you like to eat at the Milpalta market?
Ah, we had Le- For example, we had Los Corazones de la Flor de Agave. It was a very nice thing that we tried. We had different moles that people didn't know. For example, the olive oil, the Mexico City olive oil was amazing. We had a dish that recreated the first ducks that arrived to the Mexican City lakes. So the duck we prepared covered in clay, so it was a technique that they used to remove all
Yeah.
the feathers. Yeah. So that was also amazing because we went with the historiadores, with los narradores de la historia de Milpalta. How do you say that? ¿Cómo dirías?
The narrators,
Sí,
storytellers.
yeah, the storytellers about the story, the Milpalta storytellers. So they told about all those stories. And for example, we had an amazing plate. It was called frijoles negros and frijoles blancos, black and white beans. So it was a technique cooked with this Mexican salt that because of the temperature, the time of the cooking process. and the way you cook it. Ok, pam, ya me confundí. Ok, it was a dish.
That's all right.
Ya, estaba tratando de pensar cómo ponerlo en inglés. Ok, so it was a dish uh, that the ingredients and the temperature, the way you cook the beans, the little black skin didn't stick. So when you cook it, it was completely black broth, like traditional black bean broth.
Yeah.
But in the lapse of 30 to 40 seconds, it became completely white. So it was an amazing dish. So it was the technique and the temperature and the material. It was like a special clay pot where we cook the beans. So when we serve it to the patron, it was a black bean broth, and we told them to wait 30 seconds, and the broth became completely white. So it was a very very nice, like molecular gastronomy without molecular. So
Right, right.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there. I would say that the indigenous people of Mexico did create some of the first modernist techniques. Nixtamal, you know, is a very modernist technique, right? Um, but it's funny when you're talking about beans. I was just remembering that I went to a demo you did, and you had two ollas. You had one with the beans on the bottom, and the one on top with water.
Yeah, that was one. Yeah.
And I still use that at home. And it's funny because when I do that, and I've showed people videos before, they're like, "Oh, my grandmother does that." I'm like, "Oh my God, I didn't learn from my grandmother. I learned from
From
Chef
Daniel.
Daniel Ovadia." Yeah.
Yeah,
But
actually, that was one of the techniques to make the frijoles blancos, frijoles negros dish.
yes, it's brilliant. So for people at home, you cook your beans with water, but the water's going to reduce, and you're going to have to refill it. But if you have a pot, an olla on top with water, that water is going to be the same temperature as the water below, and so when you pour it in, it's not going to slow down or speed up your cooking process. It's going to be the perfect temperature for adding water, rather than trying to heat it up and approximate the temperature. This is just it's brilliant.
Exactly. Yeah. That was the one. Yeah.
Mexican technique. So, okay, now, so people who want to experience your food, tell us again, remind us where we can find you and what you have coming up.
If you come to Mexico City, you can come to Peltre, a very relaxed place. It's like a Mexican bakery, Mexican cafeteria, Mexican
Yeah,
loncheria. You can
and
eat.
what should we order there?
I love the chilaquiles. We've been selling
Okay,
chilaquiles for 12 years every day. So I think we have one of the best chilaquiles you can try. We have the traditional red or green, and we try to make different sauces. Like
yeah,
now we have one with chile pasilla, we have one with chile cascabel, we have one with chile poblano. So the chilaquiles are amazing. The enchiladas are very very nice. The Mexican bakery, we have our own bakery that we cook it every day. The conchas, the cuernitos, amazing Mexican bread. And we have a very nice coffee because it's a loncheria, cafeteria. So it's a place to be, to have breakfast, lunch, dinner, or to go with your computer and have a very nice coffee and a very nice
yeah.
bread.
And it's a place that's popular with locals, not just a tourist dominated place. So definitely check that out. So that's in Mexico City, and then you have another restaurant coming, don't you?
Yeah, we have a new one. Maybe it's coming in 2 months, 2 or 3
Mistral.
months. Yeah, it's Mistral. It's gonna be like a Mexican restaurant, but with Mediterranean roots because those are my roots. So I want to have the Mexican food with some of my ingredients. So
Yeah, sure,
I'm very
sure.
excited about that restaurant. Yeah.
And then in Puerto Morelos.
And Puerto Morelos, you have, of course, Punta Corcho, good fire cuisine, seafood. It's a very nice restaurant. Then you have Muelle Once, if you want to go to the beach. We have a beach club in there. You can have very nice seafood like ceviches, much more relaxed as Punta Corcho. And then we have Fisherman. our cocktail bar. If you want to go at night to have some very creative drinks, it's a very nice place to go. The place is very nice, very cozy, with air conditioning. That when you're at Puerto Morelos at the beach, you try to to find places with air conditioning. So Fisherman's is a very nice place. And
Yeah.
then we have Buba. Buba, it was the name of my grandmother, so it's like an homage to her. It's a Mexican cuisine, Mediterranean, like Middle Eastern and Mediterranean cuisine, but with Caribbean roots. My grandmother was a very happy person. She was always happy. She was always dancing, singing. So that's what we're trying to do at Buba. It's a Middle Eastern cuisine with Caribbean soul. So
And that's going to be in Puerto Morelos also.
yeah, yeah. We opened it 8 months ago. It's already
Oh
open.
no, it's already there.
Yeah,
And again, for young Latino chefs, people who want to do modern Mexican cuisine, you need to pick up the Paxia book and and study that, because it's one of the most important pieces of this whole puzzle. And I don't know, everyone's opening a fancy plancha taco in the United States now. Are you going to do it?
no, no, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Okay, yeah,
I
no.
prefer to stick to Peltre and Punta Corcho. Yeah,
Okay,
and I mean,
right,
I love those kinds of taco. Actually, uh, it's a very nice idea to have the taco with a very nice meat, the tortillas. Actually, my business partners in Peltre are the owners of El Califa. So it's a taqueria that it's been doing
yeah,
that for 20, no, 30 years.
right,
So I love those kinds of tacos. But as we were telling at the beginning, no, creativity it's over because it's so much easy today. So you can see it in social media, and if you have some money or someone with money, you can open it tomorrow. So no creativity, no.
right. Okay, well, Chef
You
Daniel
know what
Ovadia,
was I was thinking? I was looking at the Paxi menu. You know
yeah,
what was also a very different thing that Paxia did like 17, 16 years ago? Put live insects in one dish. Do you remember that one?
yes, I
It was
do. I remember it. Yeah, you were doing it all.
yeah. I saw the menu right now, and yeah, that was very
Yeah,
nice.
no,
Sometimes I miss
I'm glad
Paxia, but
I lived it. I was there. I experienced the restaurant towards the end when you were really, I mean, in 2012 to 2013, whatever it was. The restaurant was very developed in its concept, very deep in the concept, and you were in that space in your life where that's what you were doing. So I'm glad that I experienced it. A lot of people going today will never know that time period, and so, like I said, pick up the book, Chef
thank
Daniel. Thank you for being on the podcast, and
you
it's
very
always
much.
great to talk to you. And we have to stop missing each other. Every time I come to Mexico City, you and I are like throwing text at each other, and we miss. But we have to do another Tepito crawl.
Yeah, that's for sure. I really want to do that again. Yeah,
Okay, you got it.
perfect. So thank you very much, Phil. It's a pleasure as always to talk to you, and you know how I really love you, man. You're amazing. Thank you very much.
Oh, I love you too. Thank you for tuning in to the Taqueando podcast this week. And be sure to tune in next week for another episode. And please leave us a rating or review wherever you listen to your podcasts.